Okay, so here we go with my second video of today, and this is the less Halloweeny of the two, but this is Moff Gideon from Star Wars: The Mandalorian. This is one of those Black Series figures. It's on a vintage card, and honestly, I bought this one for use for a custom figure. And what custom figure? It's going to be a GI Joe classified figure. I'm going to do my own version of Cobra Commander. So I already 3D printed him ahead, and it still needs to be painted. But and I've got a second head printing out for him here. So I'm gonna have the head with the silver face plate, and I'm gonna have a hooded head for the figure. But I figured this would be perfect for the base for a Cobra Commander figure. He's got this blue kind of fascist looking uniform. Now Moff Gideon on the show, I was thinking he had a black uniform. I remembered him having a black uniform anyway. But then I read the back and it says, this distinctive collection features premium deco applications inspired by the end credit images from The Mandalorian, plus a galactic credit accessory. After the fall of the Galactic Empire, usage of their form of money, Imperial credits, became less common, with many planets refusing payments in the currency on principle. And then it's got, same thing in different languages. So not an actual bio on Moff Gideon himself, just on the little fake money he comes with. So let's go ahead and open him up. I would talk some about the artwork on here, but they put a big sticker over his face, which is unfortunate. It is an excellent likeness. I can tell already of the actor Giancarlo Esposito, who, like most people, I became a fan of his from Breaking Bad, where he played Gus Fring on that, and he was awesome. And then he went on to be on The Mandalorian, and he was awesome on that. So there is my fake galactic credits, counterfeit money. Toss that aside. And then inside, we've got a few different bubbles. And these seem to be taped together. So I'm going to have to cut the tape. So he's got a separate bubble for his cape. You know how I'm talking about how BS it is that Hasbro's like, oh, we went with plastic-free packaging to help the environment. And this one's just got like a ridiculous amount of plastic in it. This didn't need to have this much plastic in it. They were just trying to save money. We know it. So there's the dark saber, and it is a little different from how we usually see a Star Wars lightsaber, because instead of the sort of pole like the lightsaber blade usually is, this one actually is shaped more like a blade, almost like a katana, and it appears to be black, kind of a slightly metallic black plastic with is the paint, some of it's got to be painted, but what is it that's painted on here? Is it? It looks like it could be one or the other. I'm not sure if it's the blade. I'm not sure if they painted black onto the white plastic or painted white on the black plastic. Or maybe they did two different molds of plastic like we see with Lego sometimes. It's a pretty cool looking accessory no matter what. They did a great job with the dark saber. I'm gonna say that right away. So kudos to them on that. And then he's got this little teeny tiny, small, microscopic little blaster, which is exactly the kind of blaster I would expect of a character like Moff Gideon, who's more of a politician slash, admiral kind of character. He's like an officer or a politician or somewhere in between. So he's not exactly the kind of guy who's going to carry like a huge laser rifle. It makes sense that he'd have like the little smaller pistol like that. So we're going to put that all back together so we can throw that out a little later. Okay, so there's Moff Gideon himself out of the packaging. Like I said, excellent likeness of Giancarlo Esposito. If I could get the camera to focus on it. And unfortunately, the lighting isn't the best because my lamp has died. Or maybe it's just because the computer turned off. pretty sure I have it plugged in. It's not plugged in. Why are you not plugged in? It looks like this cord got kicked loose. So maybe that's why. Maybe I could have had light for the whole time that I had the, I could have had light the whole time I had Ghostbusters going on. Oh well. So yeah, excellent likeness on there. Very good. Looks just like the actor. Let's have a look at the articulation. So the arms rotate all the way around this way. The shoulder plates are actually attached to the arms. So that makes it so they don't hinder the arms going that way. But what about going up this way? Well, they do kind of crunch up a little bit. So you can't move his arms up too far. But you can still move them up some. So it is going to kind of crunch up the shoulder plates a little bit. He doesn't have double jointed elbows, but it's still a pretty good range of articulation at the elbows that way. And the elbows do rotate all the way around, but since they're at kind of that angle, if you rotate them all the way backwards, it's not going to go all the way up. But that's fine because that's like not a natural movement anyway, so who cares about that? So he's got some nice articulation at the torso. It's that kind of just under the rib cage kind of ball joint, so that turns pretty well. Does not appear to have any kind of waist articulation, but when you've got this kind of articulation at the torso, it kind of does the job of the waist articulation anyway. Leg kicks up about that far. Not all the way. It's kind of slightly hindered because of the little plastic skirt. You can kind of get it to go almost all the way, but it's going to kind of bend up the skirt a little bit, the hem of the jacket, if you prefer to call it that. So he can do the splits almost no problem. They go about that far. We do have a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around that way. No double jointed knees, but the knees do kick back about that far. And they do rotate that way. I would have rather they gave him double jointed knees though, because since he can rotate his thigh, he doesn't really need to rotate the knee that way. So and then we've got a boot cut. No, we don't have a boot cut. It's just that extra articulation there. So but we do have ankles that bend down about that far, bend up about that far, and they are on the rocker joint. I would have rather they gave him a boot cut and a double jointed knee. That's just me. So since I'm going to make him into a G.I. Joe classified character, let's see how he stacks up against the G.I. Joe classified figure. And he's a little bit shorter than Snake Eyes. So, and Snake Eyes being about, your average G.I. Joe character. Let's hold him up against one more. Here he is up against Storm Shadow. A little bit shorter than Storm Shadow. Now, you might be thinking, well, Alan, you're going to be making a pretty short Cobra Commander figure. Yep. I don't mind Cobra Commander being short. And in fact, I kind of like the idea of Cobra Commander being short. It's going to lend itself to that sort of Napoleonic sort of thing. Can I pop his head off? There, I popped his head off, but I also popped off his neck joint, which is unfortunate. But I did just kind of want to put the Cobra Commander head on there to see what it looks like. And of course, he does have that cape. What did I do with the cape? We got to see what he looks like with the cape, right? So I'll go ahead and pop Moff Gideon's head back on so that we can get a full look at him with the cape. Maybe I should have done that last, but oh well. And it's got a little square peg on the cape that fits into a little square hole on the back. Not to be confused with the old sitcom square pegs. Dating myself, aren't I? But yeah, there's what he looks like with the cape. And then he's got a little holster here for the pistol. And I'm going to keep that for Cobra Commander because I think that's a good pistol for Cobra Commander also. And there does not look to be any sort of storage for the dark saber. But we got to get at least a shot of him holding the dark saber, don't we? There we go. Pretty cool. So there's Moff Gideon with dark saber and with the cape. And pretty sweet. He's a pretty intimidating looking dude, even if he's not the tallest. So I think the Star Wars Black Series figures tend to be a little smaller than G.I. Joe Classified anyway. I could be mistaken about that. There's one more. That's the custom 89 Snake Eyes I've been working on. So yeah, he's a pretty cool figure if you're collecting Star Wars figures. I know some people might still turn their nose up at him because he's wearing a blue uniform, even though he's supposed to be wearing a black uniform. Whether it's supposed to be like what he looks like in the opening credit or ending credits or whatever, I think people would probably want to be wearing a more accurate uniform. But since I'm using him for a completely different purpose, it doesn't really matter to me. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Moff Gideon. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment, let me know what you think about this figure, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.